Hey friends, welcome back to Whispering Grace, where we slow down, open the Word, and make space for God's truth to settle deep into our hearts. Today, we're looking at a man who is a little bit personal for me. My 8-year-old son is named after my grandfather and my dad, and his name is Asa Allen. And while I was pregnant with him, I realized that Asa was a name from the Bible. It was the name of a king. And ever since then, 8 years ago, I've wanted to dive deeper into that story. And so I decided to do that today for Whispering Grace. So we're looking at a man, King Asa, whose story is both inspiring and sobering. His life is a reminder that starting strong, isn't enough. We must finish well. But even in failure, God's grace still speaks. So Asa's story begins in 2 Chronicles 14, where he becomes king, and he did what was good and right in the eyes of the Lord. He removed idols, he commanded Judah to seek the Lord, and he experienced peace in the land as a result. And when enemies rose up, Asa didn't panic. He prayed. Now, 2 Chronicles 14:11, I'm just going to read this verse. Then Asa called to the Lord his God and said, Lord, there is no one like you to help the powerless against the mighty. Help us, Lord our God, for we rely on you. What a powerful model of humility and dependence. Asa's early reign was marked by faith, reform, and trust in God's strength. Asa's story starts to take a turn. Years later, facing conflict again, Asa doesn't turn to God. Instead, he makes an alliance with a pagan king. It seems small or even strategic, but the Lord sees that Asa's heart is drifting away. 2 Chronicles 16:7 says, Because you relied on the king of Aram and not on the Lord your God, the army of the king of Aram has escaped from your hand. It's not just the action, it's the shift in reliance. Asa, once so dependent on God, began leaning on human wisdom. Now, this doesn't mean that he completely went away from God or that he didn't love God. He just got caught up in what was probably very normal for his culture and his world. That might sound a little familiar to some of us. I know it does to me. It's easy to start strong in faith when the need is obvious, but what about when we feel experienced or capable or comfortable? The Apostle Paul reminds us in Galatians 3:3, Are you so foolish? After beginning by means of the Spirit, are you now trying to finish by means of the flesh? This was Asa's mistake, and it's often ours. We begin by trusting God, but somewhere along the way, we rely on ourselves. So, Asa's story ends, unfortunately, with him a little hardened. Even when God sends a prophet, Asa gets angry. He suffers a disease of some sort in his feet. Yet, Scripture says in 2 Chronicles 16:12, Though his disease was severe, even in his illness, he did not seek help from the Lord, but only from physicians. But here's something I want us to focus on today. In 1 Kings 15:14, it says that the heart of Asa was wholly devoted to the Lord all his days. So, even though he attempted to remove idols from his areas that he ruled over, and he was devoted to the Lord, he was still human, and he let his deeply ingrained worldly culture affect him by putting his faith in certain areas of his life and into things other than God. Now, this isn't a warning against using anything worldly, because sometimes God allows us to do that for his own purposes. But it's a caution against spiritual independence. Asa stopped seeking the Lord, and while he still loved him, he got overly confident in his own abilities or in the abilities of other worldly things. And his heart grew closed to listening and leaning on God. And yet, his faith was still real. God honored his reforms and gave him peace. So Asa is such a great picture of human weakness and God's mercy. The New Testament reminds us, But he said to me, My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. That's 2 Corinthians 12:9. Now, even when we stumble, God's grace holds. So if Asa's story tells us anything, it's this. Don't just stay strong. Don't just start strong. Stay close, stay soft, and finish well. So here's a question for you today. Is there an area where you're relying on yourself or something or someone else more than on God? Let's be women who finish well, not in our own strength, but in His grace. Thanks for spending a few minutes with me. If this encouraged you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with a friend. It really would mean the world to me. Until next time, keep whispering grace into your soul and into the lives around you.